Data scraping or table scraping in UiPath is the fine art of extracting data from an application to, for example, an Excel sheet. It's very easy, and let me show you how it's done. I also want to show you how to apply some advanced features on the extraction results, such as LINQ. This is lesson 10 from our UiPath Udemy course. If you want all the other lessons, I put a discount link in the description below. Now go open up your UiPath Studio and promise that you'll do this exercise with me. I'm Jensen. Let's learn some UiPath. The moment we all waited for, that is data scraping. So I'll click the lesson. We will do data scraping, but we will also work a little bit with selectors, do while, and then LINQ. Let's get started. So we want to navigate to Stack Overflow questions and then scrape some UiPath questions with votes, numbers of answers, and views. Then finally we want to analyze it and we want to apply LINQ to it. Let's get started. So this is the page where I want to scrape each of these questions here. At least the title, that is the J serialization into C# objects. I will get the votes, answers, and views. But I'll also apply a filter, so I'll only have the UiPath questions instead of all these ones. So let's create it in UiPath Studio. I go to Studio and then create a new sequence. I will call this data scraping, like this. Here we have the sequence. First, we will open up Google Chrome. So if I go to Activities, find a Use Application / Browser and drag it in. I will point it to the Google Chrome. And just if you missed the previous lesson, make sure you have the Chrome extension enabled. So if I go to Home, Tools, make sure you have installed the Chrome. If you did the previous lesson and it worked, everything is fine. So here we are opening the Stack Overflow.com/questions. That is fine. We want to navigate to the bottom of the page, and then we want to view 50 questions per page. So we'll go to UiPath and then we'll find a click here and drag it in. So I'll indicate where I want to click. I want to click this 50 here, and this might be a little bit unstable, so we can create an anchor. So if I just click here, you can see you can choose all sorts of elements of anchors. And let's talk a bit about what can be a good anchor. Well, this per page will always be there, so I'll click there. That's it, that's my anchor. So I'll click the 50 and I'll use this as an anchor. That is a nearby thing that can help identifying this element. I will just click confirm. Then we want to go to the top of the page. And remember, UiPath reads the whole page so that it doesn't scroll like we do. It can see everything. But we'll want to move up here and then click filter. And then we want to type something in that is UiPath and apply that filter. But let me do this. So if I go back here and then I find another click and drag it in. I want to click on the filter. So I click it, choose the filter like this. And that is fine. So I just click confirm. Now I want to type something because I've opened this. I want to type UiPath here. So go back here, search for a type into like this and drag it in. Now we will indicate it. So I'll click here. I will have this one. Here again, we can choose an anchor because we have more search fields. So I will choose this as an anchor, because this will always be positioned above this one here. That is fine. I will click confirm. So now we will type something in, and here I will type in UiPath like this, and we can rename our activities here. Click 50 is fine. Click filter is also fine. Here I might want to do type into filter. As I said, I'll usually do that search field when I finish like building 10 activities, then I will apply the description, because I often forget it when I'm quite focused on developing. But that's just personal preference. Always remember to do that before you move your bot into production. But here we click the search field and let us just see what we need to do. So I will type in UiPath here and then I will apply the filter. One thing that we'll notice that we'll use in a little bit later is that we have 22 million questions and a little bit more, and we only have 648 UiPath questions. We'll use that info in a little while. First, we will just click on the apply filter. So if I go back here, scroll down, move in a click, and then I will click the apply filter like this. And here I'll just confirm. That's it. So let's just see if this works. So if I run my automation, filter UiPath apply filter, let's go to my browser. And we can also see that we now have 50 questions per page, and there was only UiPath. We have 648 questions. That is fine. It's very important that we make sure that the search has finished, that is applying this filter, and we are here before we start scraping. Otherwise, we will start scraping all of the question, and that is not what we want, and it will give us an erroneous result, which we cannot use when we want to move the bot into production. But what we can do is that we can look at the questions before and after. Here we have 648, and before, as we saw, we had about 22 million. When we apply the UiPath filter, we know that we will not have as much as before. We will take advantage of that. So what we will do is that we'll get the number of questions before, then we will have it after, like here. We will compare them. And first, when those are different, like here, then we will start the data scraping. So let's fix that. And let me just remove this filter here. So we have nothing. We still have the 22 million. So what I will do, in the top of my use application browser, I will get this number here. So let's move back to UiPath and let's move up. I'll have it here. So what I'll find is a get text here and drag it in. I'll indicate it in Chrome. And here you can see this field. This is what I want. And since it's red, it's not really a stable selector. What we can do again is to click the selector, untick the fuzzy selector, then open up the UI Explorer here. And let's check the aaname. Here we can see that we have somewhat of a stable selector. We know that there's always be a question, but these things here, the spaces and the number, those can differ. Tomorrow there might be like 1,000 questions more. So I'll delete those, have an asterisk here. If this video is helping you, then you can help me a lot if you give it a thumbs up. Thank you. Delete the behind spaces, have an asterisk, and let's see if it works. Solving selectors, as we saw in the previous lesson, is a puzzle. You'll get better at that when you work with it, so make sure you do these exercises with me. Because now if I validate, we will see that it turns green. If I highlight, we can see that we have it up here. This is what we want. Let me untick highlight. So we want this selector. I just click save. Now we have it, it's green. So we went from a red selector, that is an unstable selector, to a green selector. Then I click confirm. So now we get this text out, and this is, I'll call these ones here, get text questions before. We will save that into a string variable. So go down here, press Ctrl K. I repeat, Ctrl K, then I'll say str questions before search, like this, and press enter. So now we get the questions before, like this. And now we can compare them with the questions after the search, which were 648. Then we know we are on the right page. So scroll a little bit down. And let me introduce another activity that we haven't talked about before. That is the do while. It works a lot like the while. The only difference is, you can easily see it when we move it in, is that we will first perform the body one time. And then we'll have the condition which will validate if we will do it once more and over. Where a while will always validate on a condition, and then we will do the body over and over. So here we will do it one time whether or not the condition is true or not. First we will have a delay. And again, there's no right way to check if we are on the right page, but this is a very stable way that we have here. I use it in a lot of my bots or just variations of it. So if I drag in a delay, make sure it's in the body. So we will have a delay. That is just to have like a 3-second delay. So I go up here, then I'll say 03. This will be 3 seconds. Then I will have a get text so that it will be in our new place. So if I'll say get text and drag it in. And that is after I apply the UiPath filter. It's not certain that there's something different about the two selectors, but let's just apply the filter because we know we are here. We will look at this selector up here. I doubt it because we made it quite dynamic, but let's just make it once more and we'll get used to work with selectors. So I go back to UiPath. Then I'll indicate it here. And again, I'll pick up the question. So click here. Again, it will turn red. And do you remember what we did before? Yeah, we click the selector. We untick the fuzzy one. We open up the UI Explorer here. And we added the aaname. So if I will do this, I'll do this here. I'll have an asterisk. That means that we have every character that comes in front of the questions and asterisk before. That will mean that we can have any character that comes in behind. Then I can validate it and highlight it. It's up here. I can escape, click highlight, click save. We now have it here and then click confirm. Here I will say get text and then we'll just say after search. I'll store this into a variable. And yes, we will just compare this variable that we get here with the variable up here. If those ones are different, then we can proceed. Otherwise, we will have another delay because we'll run this over and over. So here I'll say Control K, then I'll say str questions after search like this. And in here, I will say str questions before search equals to str. And now we can find the variable. Why can't we that? I'll give you 5 seconds to think of that. Yes, and I hope you answered that. It's because this str questions after search is only defined in this sequence up here. So how do we find it? We mark it here, then we go down to variables here, and then the str questions before search, we will have it outside in the data scraping. And then the str questions after search, we will have it in the do as well. But we go back here. Now, if I press Control Space, that will be the str questions after search like this. So this one will have delay of 3 seconds as long as the number of questions doesn't equal the number of questions before the search. It's quite intuitive. It will be a stable trick. Now we will do the data scraping. I know this might sound a little bit boring, but it's actually very worth it because this is some techniques that you will use as an RPA developer. So now mark this do while, and then we will click the table extraction. This will do the data scraping. Let me just drag it in here. So now we can extract data. Let's first start with the title. So I click add data. Here I can choose like this one here, that will be the title. What we will do here is that we'll click the settings here and I'll give it a value. I'll just say question and then I'll click save. You can see that UiPath automatically recognizes that this is a title, this is a title, this is a title, and so forth. Now we can add the votes, answers, and views. So let me say finish selection. Then we can add some other data. So I click add data. I'll point it to the number of votes here. Then here I will say votes, click save. And again, I'll finish the selection. I'll add another type of data. So I click add data, point it to the answers here. I'll rename this as well. So I'll just say answers like this, click OK. Now we just need the views. So I'll finish the selection. I'll add data. Views, you can see that it automatically recognizes those ones as well. So here I'll say views, that's fine. Here you can see that if we scroll down, we can see we get each one of these numbers here. So all the way down, all of the 50. But we also have a next button. We want to encounter for that. We want to scrape every question of these 13 pages. We can do so by defining the next button by clicking here. and simply just mark the next button. That one will be this one here. Fine, we are done. We have defined all the data that we wanted to get out, and we have the next button. I can click save here. There you go. The extract data table is shown up down here. A little thing, I want to, this one is automatically saved into extract data table, and we have a timeout of 30 seconds here. I want to change this to 5 since we're just developing. That is fine, it's more than enough. And then I will go to variables, and instead of this extract data table, I'll delete this. I'll say dtQuestions. It doesn't matter about the name, but this is more descripting. So I'll close it down. So now this should work from the beginning. So let's just try to write it out to Excel, and afterwards we will finish this exercise. So I'll have a right range. This is how you do when you data scrape to an Excel sheet. We want the path, and let me just minimize these things here. I'll just create an Excel sheet here so I can easily find the path. You can also write it out. So I'll write it out to this. So I shift right click, copy as path, back to UiPath. Then I paste it in here, write it out here, write it into sheet 1, fine, delete this, it will start in A1 anyways, and then I'll say DT questions like this, finally add the headers. So let's see if that works, and let's just move to the front page of the questions. It will not open up a new one, so I will start the exercise, or the robot of the exercise. So here, we are starting it. We have 50 questions on it. We apply the filter, and now we will hopefully start data scraping all of these pages. They go, I think this is page 2. You can see it that it clicks next, 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 and this will get finished quite fast. If you haven't already done it, we will be very happy if you rate the course. You don't have to rate it well if you don't like it, but simply just give your honest opinion. And if you put in a comment, we will be really, really happy. Thanks a lot. So now we are data scraping. We're on page 12, I think, page 13. And this one will look for the next page, the next button, but it can't find. And that's why let me click here. I took the timeout to 5. If we had a default of 30 seconds, it will look 30 seconds for the next button. And since it's not there, it will time out in 30 seconds. There'll be no error because that's just the next button. That is optional. But now we should have scraped every answer. Shouldn't we try it? So I open up the Excel sheet, and let me just go up here. In sheet 1, we now have our questions, votes, answers, views, and if I scroll down, we have 649 results, or we only have 648 because the first row they are headers. So far, so good. We have scraped all the results. That was very easy, wasn't it? UiPath is fantastic in this. And now we had some queries. Let's look at the lessons. If I go here, we need to analyze the data. We need to find the question with the most votes, calculate the average number of answers, and we need to find the number of questions with more than 1,000 views. We can do it in a lot of ways. My personal go-to solution is LINQ. It's a bit advanced, and I don't expect you to understand it fully now, but I just want to teach you, because if you move ahead in your UiPath journey, this is a topic to learn. So this one, you will just write the code after me. It's quite easy after a little while, and it will appear in one of the coming courses that Jan and I will do here on this site. So first, let's find the question with the most votes. We can delete this Excel. We will not write it back to Excel. It was just to see that it works. So if I drag in a right line, I'll first add some text, so make it easy to look at. So quotation marks, most voted question, colon, and then a space. Now I will have my link. This one will just take the result out, so I will get the question with the most votes out. So what I will refer to is to a data table. I'll say DT question. Then I'll say AsEnumerable here. This is a method that makes it possible for us to use the link on the data table. With the AsEnumerable, it can be seen as a list of data rows. And the data rows, that is what's in our data table. Then we'll order it. So let me just open the expression. So let me do this and open the expression up here so we can see the entire expression instead of this small box. So what I'll do here is that I'll say order by ascending. Here we will order it. Now we will create an anonymous variable that represents every data row in the list. We'll do that by saying function, and you can also use the IntelliSense here. So we'll say function, then we'll say parentheses and a small x. We can call it whatever we want. We will call it x here. Then we move outside the parentheses, have a space. So now we will get the votes and we will convert that to an integer since it's an object. So I'll press Control space. I'll say convert like this to int 32 like this. You can see I use the keyboard and the IntelliSense a lot. So this is what I want. I then say parentheses. Now I refer to the row that is x, then dot, and then I can refer to the column, and that was the votes. So I'll say item again. Item is column. Parentheses, quotation marks, votes like this. Now I just need to take the first element, that is the one with the most votes. So if I go out here, I'll say dot. Again, Control space. If it doesn't show up, I'll say first like this. So now I want the question. So I'll say dot and I'll say item. In quotation marks, I'll say question like this. And afterwards, I will say to string like this. And that's it. I know it's a lot. Rewind the video if it's too much. But this is just an introduction to LINQ. It's so smart. And the syntax is almost the same. You don't have to know endless lines of code. These are the ones that you'll use a lot. So if I click OK here. Now we can try to run it, but let's just finish the two other ones. And we will just copy paste. So I'll copy this one here, paste it in here. Now let's just see what we wanted to find. We will need to calculate the average number of answers. So if I go back here, open the expression editor, because now it's not the most voted question. We will change that. Say average number of answers, and then we will change this slightly. So here, instead of order by descending, I will have the average. So I'll delete this. Press Control space because I don't know how to write them out. I often make mistakes, so make it a habit of using the IntelliSense. So here I have the average, and here I'll look at the answers. So I'll say answers like this, and I will not have this first item question anymore. So I will make sure you delete the right thing. So I'll just have it to string like this. So now we have the average number, or at least we think. We will test it in a little while. Again, this will come very handy, the LINQ, so better learn it. I know it's a lot in the beginner's course, but it's the end. So this will introduce you. Please build it with me. And let's just copy it once more. So I'll copy this one here and paste it in. So what we need now is the final number of questions with more than 1,000 views. And if I go to my Excel sheet, let me scroll, you can see the views here. If I scroll a little bit down, I can see that this one got 2K views. So whenever we get above 1,000, it says 2K, and we can see the syntax if I can find one more. Let me scroll down. Here it says 2K. 2K, and it also says 1K up here. So we just need to search for the letter K. Let's create it. So if I go back here and let me expand this, and we will say here, we will say number of questions with more than 1,000 views like this. Then we will fix this a little bit. So we will not use the average here. We will use the count. And then we will say function x. We don't need to convert it now because we will not use the number. And this means that we can move the outside parentheses like this. And then we will say x items. And since we're looking at the views, that is the views column, we will say views like this. Then we'll say dot to string. Then we'll say contains here. Then we'll say, let me have it in parentheses, quotation marks. You remember this. We'll have the K here. And finally, the last parentheses we will not use this one here either. This one will be the outside parentheses. We'll have it in the end here. And then I'll just have the toString method. Then I can click OK. I know this is a little bit of nitty-gritty when you have to sit around and fix these, but it's well worth learning it. And I often have to Google some of these things, so don't worry. Just know that they exist and how you can use them. So if I click OK now, and we are here, so these are the questions. Let's see what's going on if we start the automation. So I run the UiPath. Here we open up a new one since we weren't there, and then we filter it, UiPath apply filter. We will scrape all 13 pages, then wait 5 seconds, and hopefully our LINQ query will work, or our 3 LINQ queries actually. So we will wait a bit, and I really hope you enjoyed this course. We will build 3 more. So that's it. We will make it around the size each of these courses, and we will make it available very, very soon. There you go. We can go down to output. It's always exciting. Here we can see we had the most voted questions. That will be the UiPath Community Edition. Average number of answers, that would be 1.21. The number of questions with more than 1,000 views, though that is 218. So now you learned data scraping, you got introduced to LINQ, you learned about the do while, and you learned about selectors. This was one of the lessons from our UiPath Udemy course. If you want the rest of the lessons, there's a discount link below in the description. See you!